You know about the reputation of honey badgers, right? So these hyenas were clearly unaware and underestimated this kid. Of course, even against one hyena, the honey badger is like a gnome against a troll. And here hyenas are generally 3 against 1. But neither the size of the enemy nor the numerical superiority does not bother our furious hero at all. He goes into battle and shows the hyenas where they belong, in a pile of garbage. Although the jaws of spotted predators can shatter bones, the honey badger not only has a strong hide, but also reacts to attacks with the speed of a bullet. As soon as the hyena tries to grab him, the honey badger immediately turns to her for a counterattack. The hyenas thought they had surrounded the enemy, but for the honey badger, this is not a problem. He easily spins around his axis and distributes such heavy blows that the hyenas can only run away from this little ball of rage. In addition to the fact that the skin of the honey badger is very durable, it also easily departs from the muscle tissue. Therefore, even if the hyena's teeth dig into the skin, it does not lead to any serious internal damage. The honey badger is just getting a little bit angrier, and he uses not only jaws with needle-sharp teeth, but also his paws. With his claws, it seems he could dig a tunnel connecting New York with Los Angeles. And the hyena's skin, moreover, will not withstand too close of an acquaintance with these claws. The giraffe is the tallest animal on the planet. An adult can easily look into the window of a 3rd-floor story building, standing near it. These ungulates became so tall in order to have access to the crown of savanna trees, which have juicy foliage only up at the highest altitude. But giraffes paid for such a growth with dexterity. They can run well, but a lion can easily catch up with a giraffe, especially if it is attacked from an ambush. That's exactly what happened here. Lionesses surrounded the giraffe, and one of the cats has already jumped on the back of his neck. An incredibly tense situation. It seems that the poor ungulate will not last even a few minutes under such a frenzied pressure. Several lionesses hold the giraffe by the hind legs. Do not allow you to drop the burden while the bravest predator gets to the throat. An example of almost perfect teamwork. But the giraffe doesn't seem to care. He saves his strength and doesn't even seem to be trying to escape. The lionesses made a mistake with the victim. After some time, the cat, which was trying to get to the throat of the prey, just fell to the ground. The target was too high. And then the giraffe dispersed the opponents with powerful hooves. He may not be the most agile animal in the savannah, but one hoof strike is enough to crack a lion's skull. So the cats can only swallow the dust and go home disappointed, in search of easier prey. And they were lucky enough to stay whole themselves after such an exhausting battle. Picture this. You are a solid and powerful lion who hunts bulls and protects his pride from a whole pack of hyenas. And then, as if out of nowhere, the most ordinary dog appears and chases you off like a yard cat. An offensive situation? Of course. No wonder the lions are trying to fight back and even deliver crushing blows. But the dog has caught the adrenaline rush and does not back down. Interestingly, the cases when a dog alone attacks a lion, or even a couple of lions, are not so rare. Big cats should not underestimate these toothy babies and calmly tolerate their approach. Even one dog can be a serious opponent. However, who knows? Maybe the lion is just afraid of catching something from such an opponent? He's obviously behaving like a madman. However, there is another version of why lions often retreat. The fact is that dogs know their opponent well. Therefore, they attack a vulnerable, that is, a sensitive area, the nose. Yes, a lion or a lioness can deal with an annoying dog in less than a minute. But at the same time, they will definitely get a few sensitive bites. And why do they need it? It's better to retreat. Let's clarify one moment. This is not an adult strong kangaroo deciding to teach a teenager a lesson. These are representatives of two different species. The one that is larger is a real red kangaroo, a powerful beast whose mass is approaching the weight of an adult. And this gray animal of more miniature dimensions is a wallaby. It is more than 4 times lighter and about half the size of a kangaroo. Although, of course, they are quite close relatives, as it is easy to understand due to the external similarity. At the same time, the kangaroo thinks that if it is bigger, then the wallaby will have to leave. But the gray kid doesn't agree. And he is ready to demonstrate this disagreement in a fight. This fighter will give a lot of surprises to the kangaroo. The brazen marsupial underestimated its enemy and received a decisive rebuff. When a creature that is literally 200 times heavier than you approaches you, you involuntarily tense up. Especially if there are several giants behind him. But this feathered fellow does not follow such obvious logic. This bird is not afraid. She scares the others. One sharp movement, and the cows are almost in a panic. It's amazing how much they underestimated this little opponent. Wolves are considered one of the most successful predators on the planet for a reason. Even now, when cities have grown and forests have shrunk, they remain numerous and successful. Including thanks to a combination of intelligence and desperate courage. Here, several wolves become so bold that they enter the territory of a city in search of food. But the proud animals did not look for food in landfills. They found an adult Kengal. This is a special breed of dog, one of the strongest, bravest, and coolest in the world. One-on-one, Kengal may well, if he does not crack down, then at least stand up against a wolf. But there are several wild animals here, and they understand that in front of them is an enemy who may be hunting them. Therefore, the smart wolves decided to eliminate him. The Kengal desperately fights back. This scene of this fight is incredibly tense. Powerful jaws and long fangs make the wolves cautious. The dog is also smart. He presses his back against the wall, finds a corner in which to hide. This is not fear or panic. It's just that the Kengal protects himself from the rear from encirclement. If at least one wolf could attack him from behind, the others would grab him by the paws, stretch the dog, and easily finish him off. And so they have to slowly push him and look for cracks in the defense. If the Kengal loses concentration even for a moment and succumbs to fear, the enemy's fangs will immediately go into his throat. It seems that the situation is hopeless, and everything will be resolved in a few minutes. Wolves are slow for only one reason. If the Kengal manages to injure at least one of them, the pack will become less effective at hunting. Therefore, wild predators try to minimize the risks. But the excitement will prevail sooner or later. The Kengal is more massive than some wolves, but loses to this gang. If you think that this was followed by a scene of brutal violence, then you're mistaken. The wolves underestimated the Kengal. He didn't just protect his back, he was stalling. Other dogs came running to the sound of barking. There are very few breeds in the world that will dare to fight wolves without a numerical advantage of at least 1 to 3. The Kengals are just an exception. They are so brave and loyal to each other that they agree to an equal battle, 3 on 3. The alignment changed when the reinforcements literally broke into the fight and attacked the wolves from the flank. Of course, the predators did not run without looking back. They also fought back and did not allow themselves to be seriously injured. But in this fight, they definitely lost. Now they need to flee the city, and all the Kengals survived. And in case of injury, they have a host who will take care of them and cure them. For a seal, a killer whale is a real monster from the depths. With a huge difference in size and strength, the chances in battle are 0. But the seal still has one advantage. Millions of years ago, the ancestors of killer whales completely went into the ocean and lost the opportunity to return to land. But pinnipeds do not. The seal feels this, so it escapes from the black and white hunters on the ice floe. That's it, he's saved. Or is he? Unfortunately, at least for the seal, the pinniped underestimated its pursuers. Killer whales are incredibly intelligent and seem to be well-versed in physics. And thanks to echolocation, they not only know exactly where their prey is on the ice floe, but also how strong the barrier is in front of them. Thanks to the coordinated actions of killer whales, they send a wave. An ordinary anaconda, about 15 feet long, about 4.5 meters, can catch a deer and break its ribs in 5 to 10 seconds. Then who should this monster hunt with a length of more than 32 feet, about 10 meters? Are there still dinosaurs in Brazil? This is the largest anaconda in history, which was found in the state of Pará near the Altamira Caves. Remember this name. That's where we will definitely never go on vacation. If she could get up on the tip of her tail, she could look through the window of the 4th floor of a building. The most amazing thing is how it was discovered. In the Brazilian state of Pará, a dam was being built for which they undermined the rocks near the Altamira Cave complex. A piece of stone broke off and opened a passage into the cave where the snake was found. She was alive, as the stones did not touch her. However, who knows? Maybe this monster would have withstood the fall of a rock on her head. Just imagine the shock of the workers. By chance, they found a black hole in the ground, went there, and, like the characters of some blockbuster film, stumbled upon a snake the size of a bus. How would you react to this finding? Fortunately for the workers, the reptile was a little shocked by the explosion and the impudence of the pathetic people, so it did not attack anyone. People were lucky. With its size, only a special forces squad could have defeated the snake. After all, with a length of more than 32 feet, about 10 meters, it was almost 3 feet in diameter, a little less than a meter. That is, it was several times thicker than ordinary snakes. To lift up such the giant, you would need an excavator. And this means that such a snake could knock down a bull or a powerful stallion with one throw. If there were elephants in Brazil, they would be under threat. Such a big snake can easily kill even a young elephant. No, don't worry. No one has conducted experiments and the snake has not been pitted against other large animals. But if an ordinary anaconda is able to catch a deer, then this unique snake could probably defeat any beast of South America one-on-one. Don't you agree? Most likely, this snake has grown to such a gigantic size due to suitable conditions. A large amount of food, and warm, saturated with moisture and oxygen, the air of its habitat. She probably fed on large animals that inadvertently entered her cave possessions. Usually, anacondas can survive without food for several months due to a very slow metabolism. However, this snake apparently never starved. But these are all assumptions. Some snakes are so much larger than their fellows in size that they look like the representatives of different species. It's like an ordinary German Shepherd would have a puppy that would grow up to be the size of a bear. But scientists still don't know why there are such giants among snakes. Although it is believed that the average length of an anaconda ranges around 15 feet, 4.5 meters, the lens of the researchers' cameras are increasingly getting specimens that are out of this statistic. Of course, everything can be attributed to the fact that researchers are increasingly climbing into the most impassable corners of the Amazon basin and can meet and film snakes there, which used to be only a legend of local tribes. But it is quite possible that the reptiles began really to grow much larger. After all, there are fewer jaguars and crocodiles, and the place of the super predator at the top of the food pyramid is empty in some places. Due to the lack of competition, the anaconda may well try to take the place of the king of the South American jungle. In this case, we have witnessed their evolutionary leap. What do you think? Answer in the comments. That's what travelers on the Amazon manage to capture on camera every now and then. How long do you think this snake is? It will not be possible to accurately measure, because for this you need to catch and pull the monster to its full height. And even John Wick wouldn't like that idea. Dealing with a few goons with a pencil is one thing, but diving into the water to this monster is quite another one. But since the anaconda swam close enough to the boat, it can be understood that its total length is approaching 25 to 30 feet, 7 to 9 meters. It's good that reptiles are too lazy to attack the boat. Perhaps if she was angered, she would be able to turn the ship over or even break it. In addition, sometimes there are more incredible shots, for example, where a snake swims across a fairly wide river not along, but across. It is difficult to estimate its real size, but they clearly exceed the average data, wouldn't you agree? It is especially scary to meet such a snake on land. Just imagine, you're walking along the shore and notice how something is wriggling nearby. And then you look and you see how this something stretches the length of a huge tree, moves, and is clearly dissatisfied with your presence. There are several places in the world where the biggest snakes of our time live. These are regions with humid and very hot climates: the Amazon basin, Central Africa, and the equatorial strip of Asia, India, Thailand, Cambodia, Malaysia. Asia was especially lucky. The biggest pythons live there, and not even one, but 2 different species. Officially, the length of this reticulated python ranges from 23 to 24 feet, 7 to 7.5 meters. This is enough to hunt large antelopes and fight off leopards. However, there is evidence that these giants can grow up to 40 feet, 12 meters. Interestingly enough, they are much smaller in captivity than in the wild. Even despite the safety and abundant nutrition ensues in terrariums, reticulated pythons rarely grow more than 15 feet, about 4 to 5 meters. Perhaps they are wasting away without the spirit of freedom, or it's all the fault of a large but limited habitat. But there is also a tiger python in Asia. It may well grow up to 16 feet, 5 meters, and this is practically the norm for this species. There are also larger specimens. Yes, this python is not as big as the mesh one, but it is very massive and powerful. There are local legends that pythons are found in Asia at least 1.5 times longer. The evidence is difficult. If such a huge reptile gets into the camera lens, then it is possible to estimate its length only approximately. The argument of the supporters of the existence of such giants is very simple. If you meet such a snake in the jungle, then you will definitely not be up to filming. You will try to get away as soon as possible, and if you still try to get to the camera, well, who knows? Maybe pythons hate the paparazzi. Or rather, they love them, just in the gastronomical sense. Call Geralt, this is a job for The Witcher. But in 2017, one such giant still managed to be filmed. It happened on a farm in Indonesia, where one of the largest snakes in history was crawling. This reptile grew up to a length of more than 23 feet, 7 meters, and attacked the farmer who found it. Fortunately, the man who fought back and even managed to photograph the defeated enemy with the help of fellow villagers. To stretch the snake from head to tail like this, it took the efforts of several adult men, and this despite the fact that the reptile did not resist. I wonder how the farmer managed to defeat such a predator. If you were wondering why the data on big snakes are so contradictory, then just look over here. So, the man decided to shoot a huge boa constrictor that stretched along the wall of his house in Florida. A person is far enough away, as he thinks, and removes from the tail to the head. How do you like the ending? So, we went to dry our pants. Africa is home to an incredibly large hieroglyphic python, which can compete with any other snake for the title of the largest reptile in the modern world. What do you think is the length of this python? 12 feet or even more? Of course, no matter how brave the researcher is, trying to accurately measure a live and possibly hungry snake with a ruler in such circumstances is nonsense. Therefore, we can only guess. However, whatever the exact dimensions are, we know that such an African python is so huge that it is able to catch not only medium-sized antelope, but also a cow weighing a third of a ton. Python will digest such prey for several weeks. At the same time, such a snake is fast enough and has such a flexible spine that it can catch much more agile prey. For example, to lean over and grab a monkey. Therefore, small and super fast animals cannot feel safe. Just for the python to get enough, you need not one monkey, but half of a pack of such primates. In the 1950s, they caught such a huge hieroglyphic python that it overcame and ate an adult crocodile. Usually, because of the very strong scales that play the role of a natural armor, crocodiles have an advantage over snakes, even despite the great length of legless reptiles. With the help of more powerful jaws, the crocodile is able to grab and defeat a snake 1.5 times larger than itself. To do this, he will shake his head and hold the enemy in his teeth in order to inflict additional internal damage to the enemy by hitting the ground. But that python was so much bigger that even these advantages could not help his component. At the same time, the hieroglyphic python, even with its monstrous size, manages to be a dexterous lover of hunting on a tree. There, he runs the nests of birds, and if he is lucky, there are enough adult birds. It's amazing how the branches don't break under the weight of this monster. Now the hieroglyphic python is relatively safe. But its habitat is shrinking. More and more adult snakes are seen in African cities and villages where they crawl in search of food. And especially often, they crawl into the territory of farmlands, where they then hunt for livestock. Therefore, unfortunately, this species may soon become rare and endangered. If you think that only the largest unique pythons, which grow 1.5 times larger than their fellows, pose a threat, then you are mistaken. Even an ordinary adult snake of this species can cause a lot of problems to a person. This individual was even less than 16 feet 5 meters, but fighting with these trained steel muscles is still a very, very bad idea. Even if a person managed to block the mouth and avoid being bitten, but don't worry, everything ended well for the man, and even for the reptile. This man was lucky to have his friends nearby. The snake did not wrap around the neck, but only around the man's arm. But it was enough for the guy to almost go to the bottom. He was saved by the help of others and the desire to fight for his life. The snake could not cause serious injuries, and since the man was squeezing the reptile's jaws, it did not even bite him. However, this situation was still extremely dangerous. So if you're going to be dealing with snakes, just stay away from them. By the way, if you would like to tell us about the rules of survival in case of contact with exotic animals, please let us know in the comments section.